The last of our friends have just left after the first gathering we have had in almost a year. The scent of incense is still thick in the air. For many months now, all our prayer meetings have been virtual, and despite our best efforts to create a pious setting online, it somehow didn't equal the experience of a physical meeting. Human connection can't survive virtually. It needs the warmth of flesh and blood to thrive. So much had happened between the last time and now that many of those who came today were busy catching up, making it a social gathering than a spiritual one. Yet, I'm deeply content that the chants we rendered together on the first day of the new year spilled sacred vibes in the house and sought to exorcise the grim memories of the past. It makes me believe that the worst is now behind us in every respect, for the world at large and for our family. The kitchen looks like a battlefield, and it would take a good hour to clear it. Surprisingly, the late night labor doesn't vex me. It's a sign that things are on the path to recovery. I begin to put away the dishes into the sink, humming the last of the bhajans we sang that evening when the phone buzzes. I wipe my hands hurriedly on my sari. It's Tanu's goodnight message. I look at the clock. It's 11:20. I was too preoccupied during the day to call her, and amidst all the chores, I had forgotten to even think of her. I feel a sudden stab of remorse. It's needless, but real. Hope the evening went well, Ma. How many people came? I hated the way she shortened the words and typed. But now I've got accustomed to it and could get most of what she said in those truncated texts. I see that she's still typing, and I wait for her to finish before writing a reply. Ma, I'm coming there tomorrow to be with you for some days. Maybe a few months. My first impulse was to type a Y, but I stopped myself in time. What an absurd question to ask a daughter eager to come home and spend time with her mother. The house has been desolated ever since she left, although while here, she was just a little more than a shadow lurking around us. That shadows also can fill empty spaces amply was testified when her absence began to bite us. The news of her visit should only have made my heart leap with delight, but it does not. It sets the alarm bells in my head ringing. I gulp my rising panic, gather my wits, and type the words that I use with dreadful anticipation when I sense something amiss. Is everything okay? I don't bother to correct the typo. Okay. What is it, Tanu? Why suddenly coming and staying with us? I eventually ask. Nothing, Ma. We'll tell you tomorrow when I come. I'm going to sleep now. Good night. I'm tempted to make a call at once, but I let it be. What if her husband is with her and he doesn't appreciate it? She's new in that family, barely 3 months old, and life must be still striving to get into the groove. Knowing her, I'm sure she would have adjusted to the new settings by now, but I also realize that it isn't like when she went to her husband's house the first time. Tanu was a bouncy young girl then, dreamy-eyed, happy to fall in love, eager to enter the wedlock, impatient to start a family and be the happiest woman in the world as she envisaged herself in life. I've often wondered in the initial days of her marriage if we were a bit hasty in dispatching her into domesticity. 21 years in these times is unusually early for a girl to be married. But it was of her own volition. She had taken an instant liking to the Shankar's son when they came visiting, and when they later broached the subject of his alliance with Tanu, she gladly accepted it. Her consent was a pleasant surprise to her father and me. That a girl who at one point in time had wanted to be an independent career woman was now wholeheartedly accepting a totally different offer from destiny amused us. In fact, she was over the moon, proudly announcing to her friends that post-wedding she would relocate to Paris, the city of love that most people have only read about or at the most have gone on a short honeymoon. How instantly girls can fall in love with their fiancés. Someone who had been a complete stranger turns into a hallowed hero the moment a nuptial agreement is made between the parents. I try to think if things were the same when my wedding was fixed 25 years ago. No, I was more apprehensive than excited. Falling in love wasn't even on the charts for me. To be a good wife and daughter-in-law, to raise a happy family, to learn new cuisines, to be good at housekeeping, these were the things I was told to concentrate on. It was as if love was a side dish to the rest of the fare. But by the time Tanu's turn came, times had changed. Romance preceded everything, and girls made no bones about revealing their sentiments. Tanu didn't even pretend to hide her smitten state from me. I saw her impatience growing as we got closer to the date. I still remember her impish smile when I caught her chatting on the phone in the middle of the night. How happy my little doll had been, and how pleased I was to see her glowing in her newfound love, despite my secret pain of having to see her fly away to another country. Every time I expressed my despair at that thought, Tanu's father consoled me by saying, "It's God's way of giving her happiness, Rama. He must have felt she deserves it." "I'm both happy and sad," I said, wiping a stealthy tear on her shoulder a day before the wedding. That's how every parent feels when they hand their daughter over to someone. It's natural. Give her your consent from the heart, Rama. These are times when girls test their parents' patience by laying down conditions of all kinds before agreeing to an alliance. And Tanu has spared us of all those woes. We are blessed, he said. I couldn't agree more. Just that our agreement or disagreement had no sanctity in fate's real estate. It made devious plans behind our backs and waited in ambush, ready to slay us. With Tanu's message still playing on my mind, I turn the kitchen lights off and go to our room. Tanu's father is preparing to sleep. "It's been a long day for you with all the cooking and hosting. Get some rest now," he says, turning the air conditioner on. I pause for a moment in front of him, toying with my phone, debating with myself if I must share Tanu's message with him. I decide that I must, for my sanity's sake. Else, the night would be a baleful stretch, hauling me over my invented fears. "Tanu is coming tomorrow," I say carefully, making sure that my anxiety doesn't show through. "Did she call you?" I'd wanted to speak to her too. My phone hasn't been behaving since yesterday, and I haven't been able to post anything on Facebook. I want to ask her what needs to be done to fix it. I'm slightly irked that while my mind is roiling in forbidden thoughts and imagined fear, he's lost in his world of Facebook posts. But I can't blame him. He's relishing freedom and peace after a long time, 3.5 years to be precise. It is only in the 3 months since Tanu left for her husband's house that he has taken to pastimes like writing and posting poetry on Facebook, hunting down bees and butterflies in the garden to click, and reading translated versions of classic novels. No, she didn't call, just sent a message. She said she's coming tomorrow to be with us for some days, or even months. I deliberately drag the last part of the sentence to stress my discomfort. He still doesn't sense my disquiet. He doesn't seem overly concerned that she has made a sudden decision to come and stay with us. I don't wait further and spit out my fear. Fathers often don't see calamity even when it is apparent. Mothers can smell it from a mile. The womb has a sixth sense that speaks like a soothsayer. Do you think something might be wrong there? I can't spell out what the something might be. I can't imagine what can go wrong. Again. Tanu's father briefly turns from where he stood fiddling with his malfunctioning phone and throws me a piqued glare. I hope to see some trace of alarm in his eyes too, but there is none. What could be wrong, Rama? You're paranoid. Whatever had to happen has happened. It's all over. Don't let the memories of the past cast a shadow on her life and our lives. How could you get over it? I just can't. It still gives me panic attacks. It still jolts me from sleep. How could you get over it? Please tell me, I cried. From the sight of the coffin being brought out of the airport to Tanu's frozen zombie-like state for weeks after that, to her abrupt attempt to quit life, and when it failed, her decision to join the ashram. I could not get over anything. Each frame of a cursed past flashes before my eyes as I read Tanu's message again. There is something not right here, I repeat. Stop it, Rama. You're overthinking. No, I'm not. I'm thinking like a mother with all her latent fears coming out. I'm thinking like a mother whose memories are filled with her only daughter's early widowhood. I'm thinking like a mother whose every moment is spent in the worry of her daughter's new life. You won't understand. You just won't understand. I'm close to getting hysterical. Tanu's father says nothing and lets me vent my fears and sorrows. He knows the only way I can unburden myself is by ranting aloud. Now, quiet, quiet, enough, or you'll fall sick again, he says, after a full 10 minutes of my raving, and hands me a half tablet of Remeron and a glass of water. Now lie down and listen to a story, he says, rubbing my back. I knew it was coming. It was the only remedy to my meltdowns. I listened to his story every time as if it were freshly crafted from his post-retirement creative cravings. Together with the pill, it put me to sleep, taking me far from the day when our worlds had come crashing down without notice. I often caught only snatches of what he said, but as I cruised into sleep, I knew that his story was a happy one. It was a tale of good things and a happy ending. I found huge comfort in that conviction. You know, my dear wife, life is fair for most parts, he begins. But sometimes it goes crazy, as if bitten by a dog. That's when tragedies happen. But there is someone who cures life of its madness and puts things back in their place. Not in the way we ask, but in a way that keeps life going on. I smile at this point and whisper, God. An evening bhajan emerges in my partly awake consciousness and I hum under my breath. The story then takes me through images of Tanu and a man in his mid-30s dressed in simple wedding costumes standing in front of the deity. It wasn't easy to get her to agree. The 5 years she had spent in Paris were too deeply etched in her memory. Forgetting her first love and accepting someone new in her life was equal to infidelity to her. I'm not capable of loving anyone again, she had said categorically. If you force me, I will join Brahma Kumaris, she had threatened. How does a mother tolerate such pronouncements from her young daughter? For 3.5 years, her heart lay in splinters on which she walked barefoot, her soul bleeding from all ends. But sometimes, miracles happen faster than maladies, I hear Tanu's father say. This is my favorite sentence in the story. I smile once again through my pill-induced drowsiness. Tanu's father has a unique way of accenting that sentence for me. The way he intones it obliterates all the pains of the past and puts hope and happiness in sharp relief. From here on, the story gallops fast. Most of what he says glide past me. But even in my semi-conscious state, I know what he is saying. As he describes the scene of a couple exchanging rings and garlands in front of the deity, I faintly picture it in my mind. The young woman is standing in nervous anticipation. Her eyes are glistening. It's hard to say what they reflected. The priest emerges from the sanctum, hands the man the Mangal Sutra and instructs him to tie it around the young woman's neck and smear the red vermilion in her parting. My Tanu is a bride again, resplendent in my pink Benares sari. She had insisted on wearing it for this occasion. It was auspicious, and it will protect her from future harm, she said. The one who fixes things that were broken had got her to consent to a second chance. She was smiling again. She had allowed herself to love someone again. She had agreed to try and release herself from the clutches of a tragic past. The prayer meeting in the evening was organized to give the fixer of things a big thanks for sowing happiness in our lives again. At that thought, I must have fallen asleep. For the next thing I remember is waking up in the morning to the beep of my mobile phone. The fairy tale had dissipated somewhere in the darkness, and the queasiness of last night makes an instant comeback. I pat around the bedside table urgently for my glasses and the phone. Tanu's father is still asleep. For a moment, I consider waking him up to read the message. I don't have the courage to do it myself. I'm desperate with dismal thoughts. What if something untoward had happened in Tanu's house? What if she was in distress? What if she wanted to call the marriage off? What if she wasn't treated well by her in-laws? What if her husband was abusing her? What if? What if? I sit up in the bed, hold my breath and brace for whatever news the message had to bring. Ma, it reads. Papa sent me a message last night about the text I had sent you about my coming there. He said you had panicked a lot, thinking something was wrong, and he wanted me to send you a message first thing in the morning. Ma, I'm coming home to be with you and Papa for some days. You may want to know why. Ma, you're going to be a grandma, and the doctor has advised rest. I wanted to give you a surprise when I come home today, but Papa said you were too tense last night. Sorry, Ma, for causing panic. I'll see you in the evening. Love you lots. Can this be true? I read the message again and again to ascertain its truth. I shake Tanu's father awake. This time I'm frantic with joy. Listen, Tanu is pregnant. Tanu is pregnant. I exult through my tears. And what all terrible things I had imagined, oh God. Tanu's father opens his eyes fleetingly, shakes his head, smiles and mumbles, "Crazy woman," before pulling up his blanket and slipping into an extended snooze. I heave with relief, and for the first time in a long while, I give him a tight hug over the blanket, plant a kiss on his forehead, and scamper to the prayer room. Later, as the morning rays seep in through the windows and fills our house with a delightful glow, I make a video call to Tanu. "Hello, beta," I say, and softly kiss the screen.